All righty, everybody. We got 5 people already in here. Welcome to Episode 9 of Tire Talk with Atturo Tires. And let me, at the top of the show here, take a brief moment to acknowledge this will, for the time being, be the last weekly release of Tire Talk as we prepare to hopefully get back on the road and head to events. We're going to obviously not have the time to do this every Thursday night because we're going to be hopefully traveling. So we will still do Tire Talk on a somewhat regular basis, hopefully once a month, as time permits and as guests permit, because as things start to open up, people in the industry tend to get a little busier too. So it's harder to find people to take time to sit down with us and do awesome shows like this. So as we acknowledge that, we're going to kind of slow down a bit and drop back to maybe a once a month kind of show schedule. So I hope everyone's okay with that, just so you know what to expect next week when you come in here on Thursday and you don't see me blabbing at you for an hour and a half to 2 hours. You know that everything's okay. I have not fallen off the face of the planet. We have not been, nothing's bad has happened to us. We have not succumbed to COVID-19. We are just, taking a break and changing things up a little bit. And that's, wow, sorry about that. My computer is showing a bunch of notifications and it's playing them loud for you guys. But we are not going to be on next week. Just as everybody knows, that is the plan. So to get to this week's show, we have Chris Hamilton, the editor of Street Trucks Magazines, joining us today. And Chris, why don't you take a little bit to introduce yourselves to everybody here on the show?
Sure thing. Chris Hamilton, like you said, Street Trucks Magazine. I'm actually I represent a few other brands as well, but Street Trucks is the parent of them. We also do C10 Builder's Guide, which is just for the classic C10 trucks. OBS Builder's Guide, which is for the 88 to 98 Chevy trucks. And F100 Builder's Guide, which is the old classic F100. So we represent all those brands under the Engage Media company.
Yeah, so we've done quite a bit of stuff with Street Trucks in the past. You featured quite a few builds with the AZ800, and I think people are going to see more of the AZ800 coming soon, and I hope that's the case. We're definitely we focused on off-road stuff for the very heavily, I'd say, Joe. Wouldn't you agree, for the last probably 2-3 years at least?
Well, yeah, I mean, it sort of started with the high performance side of things first. So it's like anything. Then the off-road stuff was fun. And then right now, I think a lot of people like performance, and it just, like, who doesn't like burnouts and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started with, obviously, we did this as a trivia question a while ago. The first tire that Atturo came out with was the AZ800. And I'm going to take a moment here. Scott McGee in the comments talking about your Trailblade XT. Where are you getting them balanced? Is it an authorized Atturo dealer? We definitely always recommend working with an authorized dealer when it comes to potential balancing issues or any installation issues. They're the ones who are best equipped to deal with our tires and getting them installed and getting you the best ride quality and making sure that you're happy with the product that they bought from us and you're buying from them, because they don't want to send customers down the road unhappy. One of the biggest places nationwide, if you need help with your tires, is we always recommend a Discount Tire. They've done very well by our customers in the past. Not to say that's bad by any of the mom and pop shops out there, but Discount is the most recognizable name and easily known and easily defined. You tried 3 different tire shops, you said. So it is very possible. Is it all 4 of your tires, or is it a single one? Because it is very unlikely that you are getting something. All 4 of them are bad. You probably have an issue maybe with one. Our warranty claim rate is less than 1% in terms of potential issues like that. So as Joe put in the chat there, your best assistance with warranty would be our warranty department, warranty@atturo.com. We have a great team, all in-house. They respond very quickly and are very helpful with the warranty claim process. So reaching out to them would be your best immediate course of action. Joe, do you have something to add? It looked like you had something right on the tip of your tongue.
No, exactly what you said, though, man. That's why. I mean, because obviously tried a couple different shops, so there's got to be something that someone's missing, and I think warranty wise, I mean, we keep getting better every year, thankfully. And like you said, we have such a small percentage, thankfully,
Mhm.
even with the increase in sales. So that's pretty good. And we learn more about the product, and that's why we do this stuff, to get the feedback and stuff like this,
Yeah,
man.
Doug said it could always be wheels out of balance too. If you
Yeah,
if
it's
you did
a lot
change
of
the wheels at the
things.
same time, a lot of people don't realize that when you're changing a wheel and tire package, those two go together. So it is very possible that you're going to have a balancing issue. Could be wheel related. It's not always tire related. So especially if you're changing out both at once, that's very possible that could have been the cause as well. So I'd definitely look into that as a possibility also.
And we've been striving more and more for proper applications, and like us learning and obviously sharing that and learning with others.
Yeah, proper we've talked about that on this show time and
Yeah.
time again, making sure things are proper. And I know Joe's probably talked to Chris about that, making sure things are proper as well in builds
Yeah,
that we work with them on.
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, thankfully, because you know what, like they do a lot of nice editorials and stuff, and it's always like really nice builds. And how you're talking about like the C10 builders and stuff, there's a lot of cool builds you've done that, and thankfully, I have like a really nice wide tire that fits those guys.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So yeah, you did say you bought through Walmart. Walmart is actually, for anybody watching, is not an authorized dealer. It says so right on our website. We actually don't know where Walmart gets their tires. We don't even know if they, most of the time, they couldn't even, they might truly not even be our tires. We don't know where they're getting them from. We've tried to get them off their site. We're working on it actively, but Walmart is, for anybody in the chat, is not an authorized dealer. But please do email our warranty department. They'll help you out and try to get that rectified and figure out what that wheel problem or tire problem is. What's causing that issue for you? They'll definitely give you a hand. Um.
That's cool. Thank you, Scott, for joining
So
us.
yeah, Scott, thanks for coming and asking that question, because that is why we're here. I mean, I
Yeah.
know it might seem like why would I throw bad questions in the chat, but we are here to answer that stuff. So I appreciate you coming and expressing your opinion about them, and hopefully you can get those figured out. We do hope that. Um, so we've been doing a lot more with the AZ850. Like I said, Atturo started with the AZ800, which a lot of people I don't think realize that we started with ultra high performance stuff, and we're now we moved into the off road, and I think now we're gonna start going back to the ultra high performance stuff with the 850. So I don't know. Joe said he's excited for that.
Well, I like those wide tires, man.
Yeah, those 850s are slick. That's what we have on the C10. Is the 850.
Wide tires.
We had the 800s on the Silver, that Pro Charge Silverado,
For
and
the
then
tour.
that thing was nasty. And then yeah, the C10's got the wide AZ850s on the Detroit steel wheels. It's pretty slick.
The AZ850 does really good burnouts. I can speak from experience on that. So I think that's
Yeah,
all that's important, right? On a ultra high
yeah,
performance tire.
very important.
Um, yeah. So I am glad that we're doing that. I mean, I'm more of a performance enthusiast, I think. So then, I mean, I was a performance enthusiast before an off-road enthusiast. I wasn't super big into off-road
Yeah.
until I joined the team at Atturo here, but I'm excited to see where this goes and where these new kind of marketing efforts take us. So, Chris, do you want to maybe talk about a little bit of how you got into the industry and how you got there at Street Trucks specifically?
Yeah, that'd be great. And actually, my story sounds a little bit like yours. It sounds like, because when I was growing up, when I was younger, everybody had mini trucks, everybody had bag stuff, and that's the way that I went. Body mods, all that kind of stuff, hydraulics. So that's the route that I went originally when I was able to get my first couple of vehicles, and that was the popular thing. But as trends change like they do, the off-road industry started to take over, especially in South Florida and North Florida, kind of where I'm from. And that's kind of how I transitioned from just an automotive enthusiast to on the print side of it. I've always been a fan of print, and I went to college for graphic design and print design and web design. So just out of the blue one day, randomly, I get a call, and there was an off-road magazine in South Florida that was looking for an art director, and I was looking to get into the automotive industry for design. And at first, I was a little iffy about it because it was an off-road thing, uh, and I was more of a street truck kind of guy. But I figured I would kind of listen to them and see what they had to say. And then they presented their brand to me and showed me what I needed to do. And it was just an art director at the time, which was cool. And then they told me the name of it was called Mud Life. And I was like, all right, Mud Life. That's cool. I'm not super big into like mudding and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, it just kind of has a stigma that goes with it. But I figured since I was just going to be the art director, I wasn't going to necessarily be in the mix of it all. So I jumped on the project, and within a year or two, we slowly moved into doing photography and writing and all that kind of stuff, and then going out to some of these events and meeting some of these guys. And believe it or not, these guys turn out to be just as cool as the street trucks guys, and just as cool as the hot rod guys. And they're basically all the same personality. They just like a different type of truck. But when you sit down and talk to them, they love talking trucks. They love talking tech and different tires and everything. So we ran with doing it the way we were doing it for a while, and then all of a sudden the brand got bought by Source Interlink, which is a huge company that owns Hot Rod, Motor Trend, all that stuff. Now it's called the Enthusiast Network, but at the time it was called Source Interlink. And so I worked for that company as the editor-in-chief and designer, believe it or not, of Mud Life for about 4 years, until they transitioned over to the Enthusiast Network, and then they let a bunch of brands go that didn't follow their idea of what they wanted their brand to be. So I got offered a position at JP Peterson's full wheel off-road, but that was a little bit different. That's more of like trail riding, Jeep stuff, and I knew that at that particular point I wasn't going to be super happy with it, so I kind of just decided to move on and kind of go back to the street and the trucks and the things that I like. And so I just focused on that for a while, and then I got an opportunity with Engage Media to be an editor for street trucks, and of course I jumped right on it. It's a 20-year-old magazine. The brand's been around a long time. It's held by a huge corporate company that's got a lot of brands and a lot of businesses, so I knew it had a strong structure to it. And I've been doing that for about a little over 2 years now, and everything's going great. Digital is building, print is sales are doing great, and everything's doing really, really well.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of leads into my next question. How have you kind of leveraged digital media as not necessarily a competition, but a sort of complementary product to the print aspect? Because you said you really do like print, and I think print for a lot of people is cool, because especially if you're a builder and you built your truck, and seeing it in print is a lot different than seeing it on a website and being able to have that sort of feeling. But I think, so how are you kind of taking advantage of new media to kind of support what you've been doing?
Yeah. Well, at first I originally started off with a plan, and it was going good, but then plans changed. So the plan originally was to use digital to help promote and sell print. So I would do cover reveals and different stories and leaders and different links to be able to help the sales of print. But as time moves on, print kind of has the demographic of the guy and the gal that want print, and they're going to go that direction. So we've slowly kind of moved from just using digital to promote print to using digital as a platform. And so we've been real heavy on all the different platforms, from our personal websites, which are under the Engaged Media brand. But every day there's new articles, new unique content on there every day for the last couple of years. So there's always something new and fresh. It's never stale. And we do a lot of stuff on social. We do a lot of stories and all that kind of stuff. But we're kind of pulling back from digital to sell print to kind of what you were saying. It's almost another product at this particular point. We just want to have our content out on all these different products, and that's kind of the best way to look at it in our opinion.
So you don't see, by having your content on multiple platforms, them necessarily competing with each other? You think that that's just driving, your end goal is just to drive traffic to the street trucks brand as a whole, not necessarily just push people towards print?
Yeah, for a few different reasons. One is because print only has so many opportunities. So we only have, it's a monthly book, Street Trucks. So that means there's only 12 trucks in the country that have a chance to get a cover for the whole year. And then there's maybe 4 or 5 features. So that's, 40 or 50 trucks for the whole year that are going to get featured. And when we feature certain trucks, like if we'll feature a bunch of super high-end builds and that's all we feature, we'll get readers or advertisers or different people reaching out saying, hey, we really want to see more relatable builds, more budget-friendly type stuff that the regular average guy can do. So we'll kind of start focusing on those, and then we'll get hit up by the high-end guys that are saying, hey, this is supposed to be super high-end stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to be able to mix it all in print, we use digital for additional unique content, follow-ups from print, and then a 20-year archive. We have a 20-year archive of content and full of tech articles and all kinds of interesting stuff that might be stale or old school to a lot of the guys that have been in the industry for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
But some of the newer kids, 16 to 20-year-olds, don't know a lot about shaving door handles or just simply changing out coilovers or hanging brake calipers or anything simple like that. And sometimes we get a little jaded by the amount of times that we've been doing it. So we don't focus on those things. So now what we're able to do is we have a whole team at Engage Media, and part of the team is going through all of that 20 years of content, finding the good, solid articles with the good, solid, unique content, putting that stuff online as unique digital content, creating a higher sort of level of standard for print that we can fluctuate between super high-end stuff and relatable stuff, and then all the other stuff can be additional unique content on digital. So yeah, that's kind of how we see it. Is we're a media brand overall. We want to bring the newest, latest news, the newest, latest parts that are available, and the newest, latest builds, but also be able to continue to follow up on the guys that are younger generation still coming up that are not as knowledgeable, and the guys that they have to take it one step at a time, one part at a time, one weekend at a time, essentially, rather than just dropping the truck off and saying, I'll see you guys in a year when it's done. So it just gives us more opportunity to put out good content. And since the beginning, Street Trucks and our brands, Diesel World, all these have had such high standards with writing and editing and everything. So being able to utilize what we've built over the last so many years in print, but also bring that standard over to digital is what's going to kind of set us a little bit apart from the cell phone media companies,
Yeah, I definitely think the quality from what I've seen, at least in the editorials we've been a part of, the quality of what Joe has shown me in terms of what you guys put out versus some other magazines that I've seen is definitely very top notch in terms of the photos, the writing, telling a story about the vehicle instead of just here's a picture of a vehicle and here's a list of parts.
Yeah, I agree with that, and the whole podcast generation is proof, in our opinion, that it's all about storytelling. And if you have a good story, you're going to have a good product. And you can have amazing photos, and there's so many amazing photographers out there. But if it's just a picture book, that's what it's going to be taken as, is a picture book. We want to create good quality content with good, solid stories that are showing the real people behind these trucks and kind of encouraging a lot of people or younger guys or guys that aren't as involved as they want to be, that they can get involved. You don't have to jump head first and do it. You can do it one step at a time. Read these stories. These are how these guys started. I guarantee you they're a lot more relatable than you think they are. And podcasts are, in my opinion, proof that storytelling is still extremely valuable and people love stories.
I think you're right, because just like hashtags, descriptions, and using more. Do you think that? Well, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you can measure it though. The digital wise, like how many people go back and read the stories digital? I mean, that's obviously more measurable than on print. How do you see that? It's obviously pretty huge, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it's building by the day, believe it or not. So we also do a weekly newsletter every Monday. It goes out over email, and it's a free newsletter, and it's basically a lot of the old stories that are on the website. We're just kind of directing people there and stuff. But believe it or not, the right headlines call it clickbait or whatever you want, they work, and they get people over to the story, and they get people starting to read the story, and then they realize that it wasn't clickbait in the first place. It really was something that they kind of wanted to see. And that's kind of how we're seeing it. And the traffic numbers, every day we get a few new people, and it seems like the fact that we're consistent with new content every day just gets guys, when they go to work in the morning or whatever, before they start working, they check their emails, they check a couple websites, read up on some new cool things, and then they kind of get into their job. And that's kind of the way that we sort of are seeing it.
It's funny because so right now, Colin's showing the C10 from Jason Lowry at Scraping the Coast, and you bumped into him and you took pictures and all that and did a nice write up and everything. And
Yeah,
but vehicles like that, you know, but you're at these events, like, you know, obviously physically there, you know, on the ground and stuff.
Yeah, not lately. But yeah.
Yeah, that
truck is amazing.
Yeah, that truck is super clean. It's got those super wide AZ850s in the back. Those 335, 35, 22s, right, Joe?
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
and it's that truck's called backstepping on our site.
Yep.
So if you go to streettrucksmag.com and just type in backstepping, you'll find it. You just gotta spell it right.
Let me go on there. Search right, so that way I'll put it into the thing.
Yeah, and it'll come up with all the
backstepping 1972.
Yeah, so it'll come up with.
You want to drop that link, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah, all the specs for the truck, everything are on there, and unbelievable build. Yeah, that guy's really a really cool guy. Another thing, you know, really cool guy.
With that wood in the back and stuff like that, it's pretty
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, we had Jason in our booth at Scraping the Coast. What was that, last year? And that's a great build. There's obviously that there was some time put into that, and I'll pull it up on the stream here whenever Joe sends me the link, because he's just sitting.
I'm sorry. I put it into the into the Facebook, into the Facebook. I put it into Facebook.
Oh, he's sitting over there just hanging out, doing whatever he's doing, not letting me see what the links are, because I don't not looking at the chat at the moment. But
we have actually a ton of content on our site with tech stuff with Atturo, and if you just search Atturo, it goes crazy. But we did, before we put the AZ800s on that Pro Charge Silverado, it was a lifted mall crawler, and we put the trail blades on there, and it looked super cool. It's all on the website also. And then what we did was, it was a Pro Charge lifted mall crawler essentially, and we wanted to make a whole story about all the guys that built these really cool lifted trucks with these powder coated suspensions and stuff, and they're like 2011, 2012-ish trucks, all paid off. Beautiful truck, but they've had it the same for 4 or 5 years, whatever. And they're just kind of tired of it. So we took one of those trucks, yanked out all the powder coated suspension, took off all the wheels, changed the gears, put it down on Beltec coilovers and AZ800s and a Pro Charger. Man, that thing was a ripper, man. It took off, and that was fun. We smoked those tires pretty good. But
it's like
everyone loves a good burnout.
It's like our it's like the Suburban, Joe, the evolution of the Atturo Suburban.
Yeah, from lifted to now, where it's more performance.
From lowered on XTs to lifted on XTs. Didn't have I thought it had MTs on it at one point.
I don't think so. Most of those AZs, 800s, 850s, or XTs. I think it's mostly where.
Maybe I was just wrong, because maybe it just had an MT spare on it at one point.
Underneath it, I believe so.
Yeah, I was just, but yeah, how that thing has gone from being lifted to lowered to now lowered with a supercharger and AZ8. What size we running on there, Joe? AZ850s. I forget what size we have on that.
I have to double check on 20s. I know the wheels are
it's 20s, but I don't remember the actual specs that we're running on that one.
Yeah.
But that's definitely, it's kind of crazy how you can take Zach T. Roberts. You can definitely test a set of tires out. I would gladly have you test them out. You can go walk into a local dealer and they'll help get you set up with that. Um, so if my spare and 24 XTs, yeah, we'll do 24s on your truck. Isaac, we'll put those on there. We'll do 24s. I got a Sawzall. I think we can make them fit. Um,
Yeah, dude. After we took that lifted truck and made it a lowered sport truck, exact same truck, still a paid off truck. You still own it, but now it's basically it feels like a totally different truck. Drives totally different. Handles, especially cornering, you kind of forget how fun it is to carve corners when you got a lifted truck. And then
yeah,
when you jump in a sport truck, a coilover truck, or something like that, it's like a whole different truck, but you're comfortable in it because you've been driving it for 5 years. So it was a really cool project. I thought that was something really neat that we did.
I think it's cool that people, whether it's cars, trucks, jeeps, whatever. I think it's cool that you can take it so many different routes, and I think it's sad that a lot of people build their vehicle and then they're done, and then they just, like
Yeah.
you said, keep it the same for a few years. But there's so many different avenues and routes and things you can change on them. I mean, especially with in the jeeping community, I see this a ton, is that there's so many different parts manufacturers and ways you can go about things. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of it's almost it's sad to me when you see people that are just going to follow somebody else's build because oh well, that works, so I'm just going to do the same thing. Well, yeah, but it's not you. Then you're not like, make it your own. There's hundreds of thousands of options for all sorts of these cars, and you're just going to follow what somebody else did because you don't want to like take the time to think about it yourself.
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of what's cool about the vehicles being adaptable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that's what's pretty. But no matter adaptable, so the money and the time and the energy and finding the parts and getting the parts and taking it to
Mhm.
the shop and taking it to that shop.
Well, a good thing about that sort of project, the lifted to lowered one, is
Mhm.
all that lifted suspension was bolt on. The wheels and tires obviously bolt on. So we are able to sell all that and make
Yeah.
up quite a bit of the difference that we would need for the parts to bring it down and make it a different truck. So it's not like you got to come up with 5,000-6,000 bucks to get it. You can
All
cut that in
over.
half by selling your old stuff. You got a whole new truck, still paid off, good to go. And that's the way we did it. And it
That's what
worked
I
out.
like about those editorials, man. Like, like not step by step kind of, but like nice, decent, no, not decent, but nice quality pictures with good details and stuff on them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think? What's your opinion on events this year and how events are going to change and what's going to be shook up in terms of, do you think events are going to happen? Upcoming for us is Scraping the Coast. They say they're going to
Mhm.
have it. They keep saying they're going to have it. There's no word about any sort of modifications to the event. Seems to be business as usual. Um,
Yeah.
so do you think that A, Scraping the Coast is going to happen, and B, how do you think events are going to look going here on out, including SEMA?
Yeah. That's the big question, right? Uh, so where I'm from, Florida's crazy, man. Like everything's normal here. There's car shows on the weekends. They're packed, and the beaches are packed. Everything's packed around here. But there's an event this weekend that we're covering called the Lowdown. It's a truck show. It's a pretty good sized one. And then there's another event either next weekend or the weekend after that, the Northwest C10 Nationals. And then the big event that we're looking forward to is in August, 8th and 9th, I believe it is, at Holly and NCM Motorsports Park in Kentucky. It's the first ever all truck pro touring shootout.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be a pro touring race. And it's limited to 80 trucks and it's already sold out. So it's going to be exciting. And they also have a car show or a truck show section with it. But the race is going to be all kinds of different trucks, all types of different suspensions, setups, racing against each other, including a lot of the top factory frame rail factory companies like GSI and a few other companies. They're building full plate frame chassis trucks to come out there and compete. There's going to be guys with stock frames, with coilover type setups on them out there competing as well. And there's actually a group of kids that are building a truck in their high school shop class, and they're going to bring that out there and compete against or race it against some of the guys in their class.
That's
So
cool.
that's the one big event that we're excited about. so
Is that the one
far,
you told me about, Joe? You told me about an event. You showed me pictures from some big truck race pro touring thing like he's talking about
Yeah.
a couple months ago. Is that the same one?
You know what? The no, 'cause I don't think the one I was looking at was in Kentucky. I think that's a good good area. We're in Kentucky, like Louisville and Louisville are at, or
no, it's
um, you said the Plex or something like that. Some
it's
new place, I think you said. Right?
NCM Motorsports Park.
Oh,
So it's
NCM.
ProTouringTruckShootout.com. And so far they've gotten all the approvals they needed, and it seems like everything's good to go. There's not going to be anything strange. Same thing with Scraping the Coast. They've already gotten approval from the town hall where they're at. They know that that event's going on.
Nice.
So that's cool. The biggest hit that I've seen so far, sort of in a sense, which they've already rescheduled. I guess I kind of biased a little bit because it's in my area, is the Daytona Truck Meet.
Yeah.
I know the guy that runs that event. He's a really, really great dude. And unfortunately, he got wrapped up in this whole thing, and his event had to get moved. And now it's on top of some other events, and people are kind of worried about what's going on. But he's doing the best he can, and we're going to support the event as much as we can. And but I don't know, man. Personally, I think the truck community is just waiting for a green light, and once they get a green light, they're just going to go full boat. They're not going to worry about distancing and all that stuff. I personally don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I mean, we suck in so much exhaust fumes as it is now. I don't see them wearing face masks at car shows or anything. I think it's going to feel pretty much normal. The only thing I could possibly see is if the event themselves are limited to the amount of people they allow in. But
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. But then you play the downside of limiting people is obviously probably more people are going to show up than you can allow in. So then you just have people lining up outside gathering instead of in your event, potentially more dispersed. And then it's like this vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one event that had to get canceled and they moved it over was the Mini Truck Nationals in Maggie Valley. But what's interesting about them is they do pre-sales of the show entry, and they sell out. So they know how many people are coming in. So the only thing I could see them doing is maybe having the show, but limiting the spectators, which would be okay for the car guys. But I know that car guys, the reason they like to go to car shows is because they like other people to see their cars, and or trucks, and you always get the most reaction out of spectators rather than other truck owners. So that kind of takes away. That's why Cars and Coffee does so well, right? Because you go to a mall or something like that, and it's a bunch of cars, but then you have just a bunch of general population outsiders coming in, oohing and awing over something they've never seen before. And that's such a huge part of the car shows or car and truck shows that I think is sort of underappreciated as spectators. So that'll be iffy. But.
So what do you think about SEMA?
SEMA, man, I don't know. I talked to a bunch of guys, and I've been told over and over again there's no chance that it's not going to happen. And I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it, to be honest with you, because I don't know how they're going to do it at full capacity is kind of what I should say. Mm-hmm. I know they can pull it off. I know the vendors can take care of their side of it. I know they're ready. They're already doing attendee registration, and we've already gotten our booths approved. We've already submitted all of our attendee passes. Our hotels are booked. Everything's ready to go. So the fact that they're recently announced that they're taking attendees shows me that I think they're pretty confident that it's going to happen. I just don't know if I just think it's going to hurt a lot of the guys that go to SEMA as either spectators or shop owners or something like that. It's probably going to affect their chance to go this year. And it'll suck because one of the good things about SEMA is going out there and there's so many people and you see celebrities and all these different things walking around, and it's really cool. If you were to go out there and it was a quarter of the people, even if it's the same amount of trucks, it's just not going to have the same atmosphere. But we're still on board 100%, super excited about it, building trucks, ready to go. We might not do our cross-country tour this year, though. I don't know. We did it last year, but I don't know about this year.
Yeah, I thought you had some pretty sweet rides, man. The bootlegger and stuff like that. What do you think about like indoor and outdoor booths at SEMA? or just events in general, I guess. Do you think it's more people might be outside preferred, or
I don't know. If people are like me, they don't prefer anything. I just want to go, man. I don't
Yeah.
care.
I want to see your builds?
Yeah. I
Right?
mean, I guess if you're a healthy person and you take care of yourself and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you probably feel that way, but you don't really think about how you can affect other people. But we're
Uh-huh.
just, I love SEMA so much, and then I just love the industry so much, and I'm a healthy person that I just don't care. I just want to go. But I
Yeah.
know that's probably not the best way to think about it. But you
Well,
can't
yeah,
help.
I think SEMA is like you said, it's going to be difficult to do at full capacity because I mean, for the most part, I mean, a lot of people, I know myself included, you go to SEMA and you always come back with some sort of like little bug, some sort of
Yeah,
cold, some sort of just
no
because
doubt.
you the amount of people
Dry
you're
hair.
interacting with. So if you're going to have something as they're saying potentially this contagious, it could just
Yeah,
run rampant through a huge group of people like that.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. I can't imagine. I mean, everybody has to scan their. Obviously, everybody has to scan their pass to go in. So you
Yeah.
never know. They may be doing the temperature checks.
Eye checks.
I'm sure you'll see quite a few masks, no doubt. The things that I think probably won't be present are like booth. Um, what do you call it when there's like a celebrity at a booth and you go there at a certain time? Appearances. So
Appearance.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
booth
yeah, yeah, yeah.
appearances, because man, the like for
The amount
example,
of
the Jesse
people.
James booth appearance last year, the line was shorter to shorter all the way down the hall. And when you see lines that like Disney and stuff are opening this week, and everybody has to be 6 foot, those lines go for a quarter mile down the road. You couldn't do that
Yeah.
at these events, you know. So
Well, I
the
wonder
booth
things too,
appearances
like
might be
I
affected.
wonder things too, like the interactive experiences, like the ride-alongs, or the when they have people have like the driving simulators in their booth, things with like those close quarters shared touch points. I mean, I can't see Ford doing the ride-alongs in the front. They're not gonna want to put somebody that close to their drivers, just some random person sitting 2 feet away from them.
Put a shield in the middle or something, dude. Like a
Like a
plexiglass,
taxi
man.
driver.
A plexiglass. Yeah, exactly. Has to go plexiglass.
I mean,
I could
maybe.
see I could
That's
see
actually.
Ford not wanting to do that, but I guarantee the Hoonigan guys are sitting in the wing ready. I guarantee they'd
Were
be
they
like, "We'll
doing
do it."
ride-alongs though, or just demos? I don't think Hoonigan was doing ride-alongs, were they?
Yeah, I'm sure they'd be willing to though.
I
But
am curious about the whole Ford thing because the outside booths are, as of last time I checked, still not shown on the SEMA website for booth selections. So I'm
really,
curious if Ford is considering considerably downsizing that massive presence they have out front of Central Hall there.
yeah,
Because I'd imagine that's not a cheap line item on the yearly expense reports.
definitely not. And you got to think about the SEMA opening ceremony. I mean, it's packed. It's packed. So I don't know. They may have to pull some things like that down this year, but I think they'll have a shell of the event, and the kind of the important part is the industry insiders to get together and kind of plan for the next year, show off what they've got, talk about what projects they're working on, editorial schedules, all these different things. And as long as that core value is still there, we're still going to get the value out of it that we need. Yes, it's going to hurt not being able to hand out. We print 100,000 magazines or some crazy amount of magazines to send out there, and it'll hurt not being able to give those all out to like spectators and all that. But we'll at least be able to get some value out of the event, no matter what kind of route it goes. And we're there to support SEMA. I mean, SEMA's been so good to this whole industry since the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
So whatever they want, we're there to support them, keep them, going. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. You guys have a massive booth
Yeah.
out there. I can't imagine having to reschedule or replan that.
Yeah, we still, as of now, are keeping going forward with what we've had in the past. We may downscale other places in terms of external advertising or
Yeah.
other little things, but I think in terms of general booth size, as of now, it's staying the same, and we may cut back on other places, do more trimming than slashing and burning. I think, unless Joe knows something I don't.
No, negative. I mean, we sit right next to each other, so we try to communicate as best as possible. But you never know. Things can just kind of like, I mean, especially like you see, man, like one day things are kind of looking at whatever, and I think kind of like what Chris saying, once you kind of start seeing a green light, man, I think a lot of people will.
Well, I think the hardest, the
spots.
people who are going to struggle the hardest with SEMA is all the builders, because all these the vehicle builders. Because all these companies, I know, like at least for us, it's pretty difficult for to sponsor and send you a full set of tires with the still potential that SEMA might not happen, because when at the end of the day, when I send tires on a sponsorship, if the event doesn't happen, I mean, those tires at the end of the day are write off. They're not coming back to me. That's
what? Actually, funny story. Sorry to digress, but I had one guy one time, man, that he ended up whatever one thing or another couldn't put him on in time for SEMA, and then he gave me a story that he put him in storage and couldn't get to him, blah blah whatever, right? So months passed, and he finally messages me out of nowhere. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna leave the guy alone. It's a lost cause. Emails me, man. Sure enough, sends everything back, dude. I'm like, whoa, dude, solid. All right, but and that goes to prove that. That's somebody that the next vehicle you build, cool, man, I got you, because I know how you work, I know how you operate.
Yeah.
Don't burn yourself, right? But I think, I think SEMA, like for the vehicle builders, it's like a lot of events, all the work and the people that go into it, and people forget that sometimes, like how much is behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, and I wonder how hard it's gonna be, like with the shuttles. Shuttling people. Are they gonna be allowed to pack down the shuttles? Hotels?
I mean, think about the monorail at the end of every day.
Yeah,
they literally
walking on the street.
The monorail, they cram you in there like cattle. They literally have security, and they have to manually close the doors because they're so full. Like those things are bursting at the seams.
It would be funny is if they have like little foot stamps everywhere, and you could sponsor the foot stamps, dude, because people have to down to where stand.
Joe, you were talking about how you didn't want to do floor coverings in the past for advertising. Now is finally the year.
Being adaptable. This is the time.
Yeah, not only that, but you got to think the airplanes that are going in there. How much of pain that's going to be?
Yeah.
There's so much, man. And like, what about Uber and taxis? Are those even running in Las Vegas? How many of those guys aren't going to be doing that anymore because they picked up a different business? I don't know. It's going to be crazy. So.
The real question is, how many vendors will be handing out free branded masks or branded hand sanitizer during the event?
Hand sanitizer, I'm okay, man. That's cool, dude. I'll stop by your booth.
I feel like you're gonna have the collection of like at the end of like a stack of hand sanitizers with different company logos on when you come back from the
and then
show.
Your hands are dry as heck, dude. And then it's Vegas. You're like, ah!
No, see, you got to be the one booth handing out like lotion for your hands, because everyone's hands are gonna be so dry. They're gonna want the lotion for their hands.
Here to soothe you.
Yeah. And what about like all the booth girls and models walking around? They all gonna have face masks on? That's gonna be weird too.
I mean, the whole mask thing is it's just weird because you can't see people's facial expressions. You just
might be a good thing. It might be a good thing.
It's just it doesn't. I mean, it's great for the people who have like the resting bitch face, which I'd say I'm in that camp. Like it's great because people don't see that you're just constantly like scowling when you walk around. So, but I think.
But then again, like I said, everyone says that it might be good to have a lot of space.
Yeah,
it might be good for people. Might be.
It'd be interesting if everybody got to put like their SEMA badge printed on their face mask.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool, actually.
We're not doing badges this year. We're doing face masks. Everybody's scanning their faces.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like there's
temperature check at the same time.
There's supposedly, I've never had this happen, but SEMA supposedly they may ask for your ID to verify if it's actually you when you get your badge scanned. Like,
yeah, they do.
They do it occasionally. I've never had it happen.
I've had it here early in the days. I think every so often.
Because you look sketchy, Joe. They're like this guy doesn't work here. So so like, what are you gonna? How are they gonna tell through the mask? They're just gonna like stare into your eyes, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think SEMA it'll be interesting to see how an event of that scale adapts, just because of the inherent close quarter, small, tight nature of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, people are there all day, so everybody's eating. There's a lot of food there.
Yeah.
Everybody's eating. Everybody's sitting wherever they can sit to eat.
Right?
So
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of people that aren't going to have masks on, and then to have to police people wearing masks or not, that's just a whole nother level of logistics for the SEMA group. And I don't know. I'm not looking forward to it, but I am at the same time.
I think it'll be interesting as we're like, as you refer to SEMA policing masks and things of that. Like, what I'm waiting. How long is it going to be until somebody goes to a big event, goes to Disney, goes to Universal, goes to somewhere and gets coronavirus, and then wants to lawyer up and sue X, Y, and Z because it's their fault they got it?
It's gonna happen. 100%.
Yeah.
You don't think it's going to happen, Joe?
No. I was gonna say. I thought you were gonna say in that story, and then they bring it to SEMA. Like that's how it ended.
Somebody's bringing it to
And then
Well, yeah, it's just it's how long, because there's, as far as, I mean, maybe general liability from, I mean, other viruses or other infectious diseases protects them from that, so maybe it won't happen. But I'd imagine, like, as a business, as an organization, you have a massive risk in terms of somebody coming in and potentially getting this, or even, God forbid, dying from it. And then if they can trace it back to getting it at your event, like,
yeah.
I know it's kind of one of those like risk reward. But thankfully, like, like scraping the coast, man, it's going to be a really good test for us because we're driving down there, taking our big straight trailer and stuff like that. And
you guys go to Scraping every year?
Yeah, I think this might be the 6th year, I believe. For myself, it'll be the 2nd year. But like as far as team wise, they've been there for what more years than that.
That event is really cool, run by some really cool people, and the town is super cool. And I love that. I love
Joe really likes that
route.
town. Joe really likes that town because there's like 6 Waffle Houses within the city limits.
I figured it was from all the casinos.
No, man, it's like Waffle House is right down the road, and it's bad because like usually you compare Waffle House to something else, but I'm like, all right, I'm comparing you guys to each other. It's like,
that was a big social meme type thing when Waffle Houses had to close for the COVID. Everybody's like, man, it's bad when Waffle House has to close. Dude, we get hurricanes pouring through here, knocking stuff out. Waffle House stays open, no problem.
It's an actual measurement, I think.
Joe's the only person who doesn't go to Waffle House like drunk. He'll just go there like middle of the day. Let's stop in for Waffle House for lunch. I'm like, dude, it's not that good. Like, I don't understand. Like, why you just want to go to Waffle House all the time?
Back in the day when I used to drive by myself a lot, man, it'd be like 65 South. I'm like, all right, I know where the next Waffle House is. Boom, getting out. I'm like, whatever, hit that one, hitting down, hit the road more and more. And then I'm like, the next one, I'm like, I'm not that hungry, but there's not another one for X amount of miles. Gotta stock up.
Well, you're getting the same food every time. There's value in that. There's a comedian that talks about that, about going overseas, and he always goes to McDonald's. He's like, dude, you know what you're getting when you go to McDonald's. And it's kind of true, I guess, in a sense. But I also wonder, so Scraping the Coast, I love that event. The one thing that kind of isn't as cool as it used to be is they put cones down in the road, and they monitor people from dragging their trucks on the ground and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was terrible last year. That was terrible. We got stuck in trying to go around last year. After the show, what was that time we sat in traffic? We sat in traffic for because you can't turn around. So if you're at one end and you're trying to get to a business or like a restaurant on the other side, you have to drive all the way through town, turn around, and drive all the way back. I think it took us from the Coliseum to get to like a restaurant a block away. It took us like 2 hours because we had to go around the long way.
That's awesome.
But that's the point of the show, man. It's like that's what makes it awesome. Like you can see the vehicles and they're slow enough,
Yeah.
And then they do have control and flow, man. So it is actually cool. They try their best.
Yeah.
They try to
manage. The police force and everything out there is super supportive. They just want to control it, which is understandable. But they're super cool. They don't bother anybody. They don't harass anybody. And
they ride around late, man.
You just can't scrape the coast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Joe, what did they say about what did you say they say about Scraping the Coast?
Oh no, like well, this is a couple years back. They're like, the only thing that people are scraping is their foreheads, but that's because they had a bunch of lifted trucks that year, you know.
Yeah,
But it's cool that they said that because after that you started seeing a lot more lower stuff. It's like, all right, here you go. People are like, touche.
yeah. Yeah, so my corrector in life, Eddie, just posted that it's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's that event,
Oh, nice, nice,
that,
nice.
that pro touring event. And I think we're going to be doing some live stuff out of there. So just keep an eye on that. It'll be really cool. And
Yeah.
the one thing I was actually going to mention about SEMA when we were talking about masks and stuff is
Yeah.
if they require masks and they limit a lot of the things like booth appearances and stuff, I wonder if they're going to take the next step and limit booth handouts, like because you're basically handing one thing to the next.
You're right, and they're all
So
stacked up on top of each other.
Yeah.
yeah, I wonder if there'd be anything there.
We've thought about that, and I think at least our approach internally is we're looking at ways and methods to dispense one item, dispense something like some sort of, way you could take a catalog or take a brochure or take something without touching the whole stack. And we haven't come up with anything great yet in terms of creative solution step, but I also, the other thing is I don't think we're going to be handing things to people either. It's, you can take one for yourself, but I'm not going to touch it and hand it to you. And that's going to be a problem for Joe because Joe loves handing things to people.
It's gonna be like trick or treat, dude. Yeah, say trick or treat. No, I think the idea we were having also is maybe making bundles using bags or something like that. Like pre-packed, but still I know the bags are touching each other, so like I kind of get that too. But at least just the handles, and I don't know.
The hardest thing is going to be not shaking hands because that's
right.
It's so like second nature.
It's like
you shake everything.
Elbow bump.
Do the elbow bump,
like shit. Or the feet, like Full House or not Full House.
Yeah, like the feet.
House parties.
Yeah, Eddie said if there's a quarter of the people who are allowed in, then you can take pictures with people. That's true.
Good
there wouldn't be lines then.
Good point.
You wouldn't be breathing all the same air as everybody.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know that the media gets in an hour early and can stay an hour later.
Yep.
So that's how we're able to get quite a bit of our content without people around it. But
what about sorry to cut you off. What about lighting and stuff? Because the lighting, don't they turn it off like right away?
No, they don't. It's the lights and everything. Everything's basically open an hour before it. So we get to go in and some of the guys that we use last year, our dude Solomon covered it. He brought a full light with him and walked around with a light and camera and took killer shots of all the best stuff out there. And you got to move quick because you only got an hour. You'd be surprised how little you can cover in an hour. But it still gives us that opportunity to get in there without a ton of people.
Yeah, you'll waste
everything's
half
so far
that
away.
time. You'll waste half that time just walking if you don't plan out your time right. So I was gonna say you definitely have to have a plan of attack if you only have an hour to go in there and know where you're going and what you're shooting.
Yeah. Luckily our booth is in a hot rod alley, so we're sort of in the right area for it. But to get to that area, you got to walk through the overlanding section and then the import section and all these other different sections to get to ours. So you're spending 20 minutes just to get the hot rod alley. But it's still a great opportunity to get in there early.
Yeah. Speaking of overlanding, I did see me and Joe, we were talking about this today. Overland Expo canceled all their events for the remainder of the year, all the way through October, which I thought was interesting considering the majority of those events are outdoors. And if you're canceling, they canceled like 6 events across the country through October, which I thought seemed a little kind of preemptive, I guess, so to speak. I mean, and what was the HPT shootout? No, not HPT shootout. Midwest Truck Invasion in Union Grove, Wisconsin. They canceled their event as well. And that's second week in July. Was what was scheduled for the show?
You're right. But I sorry, and I think back to the whole planning and logistics and how much goes into setting up for this and how far out you have to pay your deposits and all that. And some of these guys not knowing if the event's still going to go on or not, man, so that kind of sucks, dude.
Yeah. And LS Fest, even LS Fest had to
cancel.
The greatest show that never happened or something like that they're promoting. They're smart guys.
Both LS Fests? Because don't they have multiple ones like East and West?
Yeah, they have multiple ones. The most, I think it's the largest one. I'd have to go back and check though.
We could have taken the burb out there, Joe.
Exactly. I'm like, da-da-da-da.
The Suburban, but
Yeah.
we'll see how events shake out. I think the fact that amusement parks and theme parks and things like that are starting to open is at least going to be a good indicator for at least us in terms of the direction things are going. Because if you're going to be able to allow people to go to Disney and Universal, I mean, other events are going to have to start happening. I mean, you're as long as you can follow similar guidelines, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a problem when the first, like you were saying, the first person starts to complain that they got it from going to one of those. Now, the UFC is already up and running back in Las Vegas, and they have their own event center.
Mhm.
But at least they've gotten approval, and they're back up and running. They put events on. They put one on, I believe it was last weekend. They have one this weekend. So that just shows that it's good that Las Vegas is getting people back in there. I think I saw
audiences and stuff.
No audiences, no. So
no, it's tracking. Gotcha.
But
so
yeah,
there's another one also. You were saying
there's one this weekend also. Oh, there's I saw that there was a casino open and it was packed. I just wasn't sure if that was. I saw that today.
No, I think Vegas said they could open. I don't remember the date, but I did see about a week ago. Vegas said that casinos were going to be opening up soon.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, those places are just disgusting to begin with. So I couldn't even imagine now. I mean, maybe it'll be way cleaner.
I saw they had a blackjack table, and between each person was a cleared divider.
Well, here's my question: how are you going to play like poker? Like you're you're touching cards.
No. Well, no, they might start doing digital screens, dude. Possibly.
No, see the hardcore guys aren't going to like that though, because the serious poker players want to play the cards. They don't want
to play that. I could play.
They don't want the screens. Yeah. So how are you gonna play games with shared elements or like craps with the dice?
It's mental warfare to those guys. It's not just luck, you know.
Yeah, like how is when you play craps? Is the dealer gonna get the Lysol out each time on the dice before they hand them to you? Like how Vegas wasn't known for its cleanliness before, so I mean I don't understand how they're all of a sudden gonna supremely step up their game.
Sanitized city.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting though.
Maybe they just pump enough oxygen in those casinos that there's coronavirus can't live in the air because it's all just fake oxygen anyway.
Well, Ford's talking about killing it with heat, so maybe they're just gonna make the casinos like 150 degrees. Like, if you guys want to play, you can play, but you're gonna be sweating.
It's really Sin City now.
Yeah. That's actually true.
Yeah, but Vegas is the only place where you could walk around and be like actively next to somebody smoking in a casino, and it literally won't smell like cigarette smoke because they pump so many perfumes and fresh oxygen in that place. It's insane.
Yeah, that's exactly why we stay at the Trump Hotel every year, because there's no casino there.
Yeah.
So the whole place doesn't smell like cigarettes. It's actually perfect. You walk into a clean building.
Yeah.
Do you take the monorail to the show or the shuttle buses, or how do you get to the show in the mornings?
No, if the whole team is together. So you mentioned Overlanding. One of our books that's under Engage Media is Tread magazine.
Yeah,
it's an Overlanding book. It's an unbelievably cool book.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they're being affected by that Overlanding Expo is all shutting or closing for the year. But if all of our team is downstairs together, we'll take one of the hotel like Suburbans. They'll just bring us to the event. But if not, there's a shuttle that just comes to the event that we'll just ride on it from there. Every once in a while we'll walk back, but it sounds like a great idea until you're like halfway there.
Oh, it always sounds like a great idea, especially like in the morning, first thing when you could like use your eyes. Like, yeah, we'll just walk. It's great. And then you're halfway there. You're like, oh, this sucks, and I have to be on my feet for like 10 more hours.
Yeah, and everybody thinks the same out there. It's crazy because a couple years back, when Uber was obviously around but not as popular a few years back.
Yeah.
So when you would go to where the quote unquote Uber pickup was, it'd be a line out the thing. There'd be millions of people. No one knows whose car it is. It's just a mess. So what we ended up doing is just walking across the street to the gas station and getting an Uber pickup there, and you'd skip all those people. But within days or the next year, everybody was doing that. Everybody was standing at gas stations. So people figured that one out pretty quickly.
Well, yeah, I think it's oh, I totally lost my train. Oh, how
Seems
you said,
intense.
yeah, with the Uber thing, it's like the first, it's how you change throughout the week. The first day you're like, yeah, I'm gonna walk everywhere. It's not that bad. And then like
Yeah.
by like day 3, day 4, you're like, yeah, I want to cut my feet off. Can we just please take an Uber? I want to
Yeah.
walk literally as little as possible.
Is Uber up and running right now? Do you know?
I'm not sure actually.
I don't think they have like a nationwide like ban on it. I don't know about
Yeah.
Vegas specifically, but I believe like here in Chicago that it's running
Not
if you're
sure.
willing to do it. I think they do have a policy
Oh,
of
not sharing. I think not sharing.
all drivers and passengers must wear masks, and you can't like hand things out like how some Uber drivers have water or snacks or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Candies.
You can't do that. But
You
otherwise,
don't
I
have to
think
like modify your car and put up a plexi thing or anything
I know
like
I've
that.
seen people doing
Okay.
that. I don't think you're
Oh,
required to.
really?
I don't think you're required to though. I think it's
Huh.
optional if drivers want to do that, they can, but I don't think Uber's requiring that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Let's cross our fingers. It's only June, so if things are already starting to go, maybe it'll go faster than we're hoping. And
Well,
seem
my worry is the fact that it is only June and things are opening up. So
sure.
maybe it's gonna open up and then we're gonna get some massive spike right before SEMA and they're just gonna lock it all back down again. And even though like
Yeah.
we looked like things were going good, they're just gonna lock us all back down again and then SEMA won't happen because it just where it timed in the whole
Yeah.
year.
Do you think that would have, if SEMA, so say SEMA doesn't happen this year, which would be devastating and just generally suck. Do you think that would affect it next year? Like as far as booths, what I was thinking is possibly. So SEMA's been around a long time. A lot of companies have been having booths, same booth every year, all that. But maybe, I'm not saying there are or I've heard anything, but maybe there's one or two companies that have been on the fence about re-upping their SEMA
Should I keep
booth.
doing this?
So if they miss a year because they don't have the opportunity, I'm thinking that maybe they'll be able to use that as the opportunity to kind of back off a little bit.
I don't know. From what we talked about with SEMA when we did our booth selection, so if you don't go this, so you can have 2 years, right, Joe, of not going.
I think that's when we talked to
1
Johnny
year.
about that. He was
It was
saying that
1 or
he said
2 years you can go without.
consecutive, 2 consecutive, I believe it was.
So you
That you
have
could not.
if
You have to go one. Yeah, you can't go 2 consecutive.
if
That
you
was,
go 2
I believe,
consecutive, you lose your
seniority. I
seniority.
think it is, yes.
So you
Yeah.
can skip one, but because of coronavirus, I don't believe this one counts as a skip.
Yeah, I don't think they would. I hope
And
not
they
that it's
said,
coronavirus.
if you choose to go, you obviously gain a year, but if you don't go, it doesn't penalize you. You don't. There's no penalization for not going. But to your point, are people going to use it as an opportunity to bow out? I mean, maybe. I don't think it maybe be intentionally bowing out of SEMA, but it might maybe be
A
once you
breather.
look at the books for that year financially, you'll be like, we didn't get as much value as we thought we were out of that. So maybe even if they go, they're going to scale back or whatever because,
Yeah.
well, our sales and stuff didn't really take a hit and we saved all this money from not going. So maybe we don't need to invest as much.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a couple big brands not represented last year at SEMA, and you could feel it. I mean, you could feel it when it was out there. And those are, younger, big brands. But if there was an older, not so big brand, but a brand that's been impacting the industry for a long time, and they decide not to come back because they don't see the value or whatever, I think that would be that would suck. And but I mean, it's just we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure somebody could find this out in the Facebook chat here, but I don't know. Has SEMA ever been canceled before? And what was the reasoning? Was there?
It's actually a good thing.
And
No,
how
not
did
in
it
my
change?
lifetime.
I think because it's been around since the 60s, right?
Not in my
Yeah.
lifetime. I don't think it's a.
Yeah.
Because they happened after they had it after 9/11. They had it
Yep.
after the Mandalay Bay shooting.
Yeah.
They didn't cancel it for either of those. So I don't know if there's been SEMA that has been skipped before, or if this would be a unprecedented event. So I don't know how that would affect the industry as a whole.
I don't know, but these questions are bringing up a good idea of doing an editorial, a Q&A editorial with the SEMA guys for some summer content.
Yeah,
So
I think the other thing is, I think
Good,
the other, I think SEMA is being generally pretty tight-lipped, as they kind of
yeah,
should be. I don't think they're gonna signal anything, even if it's gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna signal that it's gonna be because if they imply that things might be different or smaller, you're gonna get more people backing out preemptively than if you
yeah,
announce that a couple weeks before and people are already pretty committed. They're not gonna, because I think now also anybody who has a booth can back out by September 1st, right, Joe, or prior to September 1st.
correct. Yes, I believe that's the last day.
So September 2nd, they're gonna announce all the changes.
yeah,
Is the way I see it. I mean, is that wrong of them? I mean, I don't think so, because they're trying to protect their event and protect the industry.
yeah,
So, but I think that's what's going to happen in terms of, I don't think we'll see any of these changes until about 2 months before, when everybody's already
yeah.
committed.
Real quick, when I Googled the SEMA, like when I started, it says supposedly 63. You know what though? I forget a lot of times, man, that SEMA is a nonprofit.
Yep.
That is not a business, and you just because you take it for granted because how much business does get conducted, from all the work they put into it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, whoa.
So,
Yeah, no doubt.
um,
Yeah, just the historical side of it. I mean, I'm sure that would interest a lot of people. How long it's been around, numbers, when the biggest year that they had was, and
well, because
just
people
different.
don't understand that SEMA's a lot more than just it's a lot more than just the show. How much
Mm,
SEMA actually does for the industry as a trade organization. People don't realize what they do on the ground throughout the year to help companies in the industry and support them, whether it
yeah,
comes to, research and development, or getting access to, 3D scan files, or working with OEM manufacturers, or protecting consumers' rights, or other legislative things. They don't realize all this stuff that SEMA does.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
So,
For businesses, yeah,
mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Myself personally, I think SEMA has always lent itself an opportunity for you to be able to network and make relationships and meet people and and see them grow and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty cool, man. It's always been a very exciting. It's just something that becomes a part of who you are. Thankfully, if you're able to consistently go and put the energy
Yeah,
because
we
it
get
is tiring.
I agree. We get three major values out of SEMA. So one is obviously promoting our brand, handing out magazines, talking face to face with readers, all that kind of stuff. The other one is reaching out, having one on. So every day during SEMA, all day long, we're not just walking around looking at stuff. We have meetings all
Yep.
day, every day, different manufacturers, different advertisers, talking about our editorial for the next year, whatever projects we are working on, any kind of things like that. So that's extremely valuable because everybody's in the same location. I can meet all of these different guys in a matter of a couple of days rather than having to fly out here or fly out there or do whatever I need to do, see their recent products. But one of the most valuable things that we get out of it is these builds that get released there. So we can do one-on-one photo shoots and tech one-on-ones with the owners and builders at this event, and it'll be 5 or 6 or 20 or 30 of the best, baddest trucks in the country, all in the same spot. We don't have to wait for an event, or we don't have to fly out to their city or anything like that. We all just go out to a different place on the Saturday and Sunday after the event, and just shoot a bunch of stuff, get a lot of content for throughout the year, and that's you can't really get all three of those things anywhere else. So there's so much value that comes out of SEMA.
Yeah.
It'll just it'll suck if it
What
doesn't go.
you said? So you usually do it after the show? You take all those photos and do the photo shoots and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, because most guys
Oh,
don't want
nice.
to do anything before it. They're so
Anxious and
focused
stuff.
on their location, the truck being perfect. They don't. A lot of times, guys don't want any of the photos of their trucks shown until it's sitting in the booth and
Oh,
unveiled. So if we were to do a photo shoot of it, people would see it and stuff like that. There's quite
yeah,
a bit of trucks that get unveiled out, or vehicles that get
yeah.
unveiled out there, and they got their times and everything. So yeah, we wait till afterwards, and we'll go out to the dunes, which uh, it's been a long time thing for magazines to go out there and do shoots.
That's
We
been
get a lot of
awesome.
heat from it sometimes, but a lot of guys like it because it's iconic. We do some in front of the hotels. We did not last year, but the year before, we did a C10 cover truck in front of the Venetian Hotel.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. We did it at like 6 a.m, and
So
all the valet attendants stopped all of the actual hotel guests from driving through, which is crazy because you'd think that those would be priority number one, is the guests, but they blocked off everything so we can have the front and center of this huge hotel to shoot photos of this quote unquote lowrider, but it's a bagged out C10, and that's the cover of our truck. It was called Cover Girl, and
Nice.
that was an amazing time. So we take those opportunities and do everything we can with them. But that actually might lend itself this year because we might have more opportunities to have photo shoots in spots that we wouldn't normally be able to because of the amount of people, Like I want to do a photo shoot in front of those fire volcano things at night with some light and stuff.
Oh,
that would be amazing, but
that you know what else pretty cool too, sorry Colin, is that Fremont, downtown Fremont, art wise, man, they've had a lot more art pieces and graffiti, or not graffiti, I'm sorry, like a lot more art pieces that's all over the buildings. Pretty neat.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, like you said, 6 a.m. That's the time to do
that's nice.
to do anything in Vegas is like 6 a.m. because the whole city is gonna be asleep for another 4 hours.
Yeah, and the sun's perfect and everything. Yeah, everybody's some of them are still headed back to their room.
That's what I was gonna say.
The best is like, because when you're there for SEMA, you're obviously, we don't go to the casinos or party at all. It's all strictly business. So you're up bright and early, going to meetings and all that stuff. So you get up at 6 a.m. You're going through the hotel lobby, and then you see like the guy at the slot machine who's clearly just on like hour 8 of just mindlessly staring into that slot machine. It's like you gotta like spray him with like some water or something to just wake him up. Oh man, dude. Like
no, it's like late night, early morning. Who knows?
Yeah,
like my day just started. Yours hasn't even ended yet. Holy crap!
I think with the attitude a lot of people have, just automotive wise, man, it's like let's keep driving forward or whatever. Really, no pun intended.
I know the guys that are building trucks or the guys that are paying people to build trucks. Those are probably the most ambitious ones to get this going, because they want to show off what they've been working on all year long, And same thing with us. We got a lot of guys that bring out trucks that we build specifically for SEMA with a lot of manufacturers that show off particular parts and stuff. It's important, not only for the builder to show off his work, but for the owner to stand behind the promises that he made to certain particular manufacturers and all that. Everybody likes to stand behind their word. They want to continue to do different projects, and everything will just be a little shaky, but the guys that are building trucks and owning trucks are going to be the ones that are really pushing for this to keep going.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is those will be the loudest voices and the people that push the most, but at the end of the day, those are probably the people at SEMA who have the least influence in terms of making it happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's like everything, right? A lot of people who do most of the work, nobody ever really knows who they are, kind of thing,
Yeah.
So that kind of sucks, man. And I think that's kind of one thing too. Like some of these, a lot of guys for SEMA, I mean, they'll go 1 year, boom, they'll go back the second year, and that third year, it's like, man, that's tiring and obviously financially costing, too. So it's like, damn, it's like, I'm never gonna be able to financially recover from this.
Easy, Joe Exotic.
Had to slip that in there.
Rest in peace, Joe Exotic Zoo. Carol Baskin finally got it.
Yeah.
Got
him. So going back, I'm looking at my notes here. So, Chris, what's one of your favorite events throughout the year that you, besides SEMA, that you get to travel to or cover or go to?
So I'd say probably. So I love the Grand National Roadster Show. That's an amazing show. Amazing builds. A lot of people either don't know about it or don't get to go to it or anything like that. It's in Pomona, California. It's been going for a super long time. The trucks and stuff that go in there are so unique and so rare and so valuable that the relatability kind of factor kind of falls off a little bit from there, but it's still just something amazing to see. And probably, I don't know, man, there's so many of them. It's like, it's hard to tell. We did an event last year, though. We were teamed up with Don Garlitz, the drag racer, and we did an event out at his museum called the All Truck Season Opener. And that was pretty cool because it was a single day thing, but Big Daddy Don Garlitz was out there and he was like all into it, and he picked out his favorite truck and he was like really, really into it. So that was kind of cool. South Florida show, but I'd probably say the one of the best events that I've gone to would be probably Grand National Roadster shows, Scraping the Coast. Daytona Truck Meet is always amazing, but it's more for the lifted truck guys than it is for the street truck guys, but it's still a really cool event too.
Never done Daytona. We have never done Daytona Truck Meet before. I think it's because we don't make tires for big enough wheels, so I just don't. I don't want to go out there and embarrass ourselves because I've heard if you don't have at least 30s, you're not in the game out there. So I don't want to show up on our 24s and everyone's gonna be like, "What is this?"
Missing a couple inches.
There's actually more people outside of the event than inside of the event most of the time. But,
exactly.
Yeah, if you don't have, if you don't have 30s, you're not even in the game. I'm like, we wouldn't even be close then with 24s.
Yeah, no, but we've been lucky to have people out there representing, have like, our 24s and the wider tires and stuff like that. But as far as us having a booth or anything like that, no, man, just time wise and personnel wise, never really worked out. It's a lot of party for just one person to go out there,
Yeah, there's so many events though, man. So it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of events the second half of the year if they get going again, because there's going to be a lot of makeup events. There's just going to be events piled on top of each other.
Exactly, that's the problem.
They're going to have a bunch of event promoters mad at each other and stuff, but everybody's just got to understand that they're doing the best that they can. I know Battle in Bama, I believe, is the same weekend as Daytona this year, and I think the Lifted Truck Nationals is right after it. And I'm sure there's a lot of heat going on because of dates, but I mean, what can you do? You've got to work with what you've got. There's only so many weekends. So
yeah, all the events are. I know for us at least, a lot of our events, it's all just stacked in September and October now.
Yeah.
So it's
and there's a lot of them getting close. Like the Mini Truck Nationals is really close to SEMA, and that's going to be hard. But
yeah. You have a lot
especially if we wanted to take any of our projects over there, we got to drive over there, show it off, drive it back, and then get ready for the next weekend, take care of all the booth stuff, and it's just.
And that's if nothing goes wrong.
Yeah,
if nothing goes wrong. Yeah.
If nothing goes wrong.
Luckily, we work with solid builders, and they usually take care of us.
Abe in the chat said we need to come to Lone Star Throwdown.
Yeah, that's definitely on the list.
Again, everyone's gonna be.
It's on the list.
Be looking at our 24s and be like, what on earth? God forbid we show something less than 24s. We'd probably just get thrown out of the place.
Yeah. That event's crazy. Lone Star Throwdown is crazy.
That's a little.
But what's awesome is that since where it is in the country, you get everything. You get classic stuff, you get modern stuff that's on those massive, massive wheels, and then you get big, giant lifted stuff. You get resto mod kind of stuff, and street rod kind of things. So that's what's so cool about that show is it's like the middle of the country. So you're basically getting a little bit of everything, and it's just massive. It's massive. So that event is something cool, and we document a tour that goes to that event each year, and that's forget what it's called, but yeah, because it's pretty neat.
I think, and it's. I'm glad you mentioned Tread earlier, man, because I had forgot about. Sorry to kind of digress back to that slightly. That's a magazine. I think that it just feels really good. The way paper wise, it's not a normal size. It's a little bit bigger. The texture on it and stuff like that feels really nice.
It's under, if you go to engagemediamags.com, you can see all the brands. And we actually have quite a few non-automotive brands. We have a lot of home stuff too, but the automotive side of it, it's a nice tight little group. We all work together, and we do a lot of cool stuff together. The Diesel World guys just did their first ever live stream of a drag race it was last weekend or the weekend before that, and it was really really cool. So the tread guys are trying to do a bunch of really neat things. We do Drive magazine, which is like car street rod type stuff, and those all do cool. So it's nice to be able to have a group of different demographic brands that all work together. And if the Diesel World guys see something really cool that works for us, they'll reach out and have their team take care of it for us and send us the content. And same way with us sending it to them, so it works out good.
If you see if you see some good home and garden content, do you send that to those guys then?
No.
I think to say we're actually looking for a drag strip. We can kind of like go out, got a vehicle we're working on about testing out some AZ850s and stuff, and the Burb too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got something. We're something with some high horsepower. We're gonna test the 850s on, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we're trying.
I'm right down the street from that new Cleus McFarland track, so you guys want to bring him out there? I'm sure he would probably give us a little bit of track time.
He's sponsored by Nitto.
Track time is different.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that track he's building is going to be absolutely insane. So we'll see how that winds up for him.
Yeah, it really is.
But so I guess, Chris, what inspired you to get into the automotive industry? Like, what was your first vehicle? What kind of was that inspirational moment?
I can remember the very first time I saw something insane was when I got hooked. So I was I parked the car when I was super younger, 16 or whatever. Parked the car, was walking up to the mall, and I saw an orange step side. It was probably at the time 95, 96 Ranger sitting on the ground, but the license plate, there were no body drops back then, so it was just sitting on the frame, but the license plate was in the bumper, and they had to bend up the bottom of the license plate so it could sit low enough. And I was walking up, I was like, what the hell? And I could see the hydraulic ram sticking out of the bed, and it was just an orange Ranger just sitting flat, and the license plate was bent. And man, ever since then, I don't know, I had to have cool trucks. And so that's kind of where it started. Started with hydraulic stuff. I was in a car club called Local Minis, and it was all mini truck stuff, and we had hydraulics and sliding rags and tweed interior and all that kind of stuff. I had the first set of front wheel drive 19-inch Boyd Coddingtons ever made, and that was really cool. Got them straight from Chris Coddington, and we were just doing a lot of really cool hydraulic type stuff, lowrider type stuff, essentially, and not the wire type stuff, but the same essentially thing, just a different, kind of like with the off-road thing.
Yeah.
Same essentially thing, just a different direction. And we started going from there, and air rides started coming along. I ended up getting while I was in college, I ended up doing some free work, basically intern, but I mean just working for free at a shop that did hydraulics, a shop called Slam Tech. This guy Jamie was doing some really cool stuff back then. He's actually the one that built that Orange Ranger, and I just went there whenever I could and just helped out. And we worked on putting hydraulics on one of my cars, and we did the first time I ever did any kind of body work. We did a side tilt tag box in the trunk, like the old school days, and I got into it. We did I was there when we did a body drop. First time I ever saw a body drop get done. It was a channeling at the time, where you would weld a piece of metal between the frame rail and then cut the floor of the body and let the body fall down and then weld it back together. Depending on how thick the frame rail is, depended on how big the step was inside of the car. But if you look at old school trucks, like the old Fords and stuff, you open the door, there's a little step, and then you look underneath the body of the truck, and the frame and the body were even back then.
Yeah.
And they ended up changing that to body on top of frame so they can get more body inside of the cab.
Mm-hmm.
But ever since that happened, when guys would start to cut them and lower them, they would call it channeling, like the old school hot rod stuff. And so I would watch all that stuff and just kind of get just kind of learn it and get into it and just get hooked on it. And once you start getting friends within the industry, realizing that the stigma is not what people or media or whatever make it out to be as far as the lowrider culture.
Mm-hmm.
And you get into it, it's in your blood for life, in my opinion. And now I've been through it all, from lifted trucks to hydraulics to airbags and all that kind of stuff. And now personally, my choice of suspension type stuff is adjustable coilovers, full blown pro touring almost essentially setups. That's how we have it on both of our trucks. It's Ride Tech full blown coilover setup on our OBS, and then CPP full blown tubular coilover setup on that 65 C10 that we got. And you just can't beat it. You don't have any maintenance really with it at all. It rides and handles better than stock, especially on the older stuff.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've blown out hydraulic lines or had oil all over the trunk of my car, or had batteries firing up in the trunk because you're hitting the switches too many times, or not knowing where your air leaks are from airbags. Just, it's so fun and it's so cool. But I'm a driver, man. Anything that I own, I drive it. I drive it all the time. Our 95 OBS that we just got back from Overpower Customs in Lake Park, we just did a 383 blueprint swap with American Powertrain transmission, center force clutch. It's an unbelievable build. And we just got 700 miles on it, and we've had it back for 2 weeks maybe.
Oh, wow.
And just driving the hell out of this thing. And that's kind of what I'm into, is reliable drivers that you could just jump into, crank up, and go. That's why we're doing fuel injection on all of our fuel injection conversion type stuff, on all EFI type stuff on all of our trucks. Still small block type stuff with EFI conversions on it rather than the LS stuff, which I love all the LS swap stuff. I love all the conversions and stuff that people are doing, but I still feel that there's a huge market for the small block guys and the EFI guys, and that's just kind of where we're focusing things at right now, is coilover dependable drivers with EFI conversions and small blocks is kind of sort of the editorial focus right now.
Yeah. So
comfort.
So would you say bags are superior over hydraulics then, to start a controversy?
Personally, no, I don't think so at all.
You don't think
I love
so?
hydraulics. I want to do another 4-door like 96 dually, and I want to do hydraulics. I love hydraulics, and if you do hydraulics correctly, if you hardline it all correctly, if you have the accumulators and you have the same, like a lot of people don't do the right things, like the hoses that go to the front rams, they have to be the same length on both sides. If one's longer than the other,
Yep.
it's going to have more travel and it's not going to go up the same. So if you have all these details in correctly, everything's installed correctly, you're not cutting struts and sliding reverse flow rams into these old school struts and doing all this corny stuff. If you work with with companies like Hydraulics and different ones like that, and you get it set up correctly, installed correctly, do your time and everything correctly, there's nothing wrong with hydraulics. You don't have to wait for air canisters to fill up. You can see where the leaks are. Sometimes it's a pain because you got fluid all over the place, but you can see where it's at. And changing seals and rams is probably the worst part of owning hydraulics. But in my opinion, hydraulics are a little more for a driver. In my opinion, I like them a little more for a few different reasons. One, if you have airbags in your truck and one bag blows out, which doesn't happen as often as it used to be. I understand that, because back in the day, you have to cut your control arms and put a bag in there. Sometimes it would rub and make a hole. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you really don't have that issue. But if you have a pump go out, you can just put angle iron on your hydraulic ram and drive it home, or anything like that. But with bags, you have to fix it where you're at, sort of thing. So I'm sure that'll cause debate, but personally, I love hydraulics. It's instant. You don't got to wait for the air to fill up. It's instant up, and but at the same time, I guess you can, as far as a reliable or even a daily driver with air ride, you can digitally control the pressures, which is kind of cool. And so I don't know. There's benefits and positives to both. I've been growing up on hydraulics, so I'm a juice it.
Plus a little harder.
Yeah.
Hydraulics and spinners, right, Joe?
That's what I'm saying, man. Gotta love
Yeah.
good lowrider
What were
shows.
those lug nuts today? We found at work for the
Oh, the
spinners show.
spinners. Yeah. Well, they're like extension lug nuts and stuff. So it's a lug that
Knockoff?
goes on the wheel. But then
Oh,
yeah, for knockoff, but the for the spinner ones,
yeah, the
not
universal
like
spinner.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's
Dude, I
before.
used to, believe it or not, I worked at a wheel shop a long time ago, right when those were coming out, right after the Davins were
Yeah,
out, all
dude.
these other ones.
Yeah.
The universal spinners were out. We had wheel racks all over the walls and stuff like most places do. And we had bolt-on universal spinners. Some dude spun it and broke his finger right in the shop. And could not believe it. Like, you've heard it so many times. Like, I wonder if somebody would do that. No shit. I was standing right there, and it happened. And ever since, we had to lock him up after that. People are questionable sometimes, but it happened, man. It was a
Wait, he
crazy.
just stuck his finger in it.
Tried to stop it, yeah.
Oh man.
But they were metal, like the first set of bolt-on spinners were like metal. They were heavy, and they bolted on, and they spun, man. They spun for a while.
Yeah, until they drove
And,
for a while, the centers probably kind of got a little.
Yeah, they put those high-end bearings in them.
Right? Yeah, high class, high end.
Joe worked in a wheel shop back in his days.
I remember there was an auto show one time actually, and this is the same thing, spinners are fresh, whatever. And so they lifted it up a little higher so kids wouldn't get to it. And then there was a little cup taped next to the wheel, and it said $1 spin, and it was kind of meant as a joke. But actually, some people would, dude.
Really?
Put $1, and then they would spin it. It's like, whoa, wow, it actually worked. Get out of
I thought you were gonna say the cup was labeled for chopped off fingers.
Just a collection of
Dispose of fingers here.
It's like that safety third.
Safety third.
Yeah.
Third.
Yeah.
Believe people do that.
Because we pulled that cap off today at the shop. I'm like, what on earth are these lug nuts?
Yeah.
Like,
And then they came out with the plastic spinners for the speakers that lit up. Do you remember those?
Or like the valve stem lights, those are pretty hot too.
Yeah.
Now it's all about those brake dust shield lights.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the big thing now.
Those are popular, man. Super popular.
Really big on the lifted trucks. A lot of people doing the dust shield lights. So
Oh, cool. Good for pictures.
I think it's
LED
pretty
is
interesting.
unbelievable right now. The one thing that I kind of whatever about LED stuff is when you see like some super sweet lifted truck with some fat ass wheels on it, really cool suspension, but the lights are like flickering rainbow colors and stuff. And
It's like, what the hell's going on?
It's party mode. That's disco mode.
That's good.
Sometimes
Sometimes
like,
too.
super tough truck, but then you're gonna do rainbow colors all over. Yeah.
They're stuttering, dude. Like ours would stutter a couple times, but I think that's because one of the wires is a little bit loose for a bit,
Yep.
So Chris, who would you say is one of your biggest who is or was your biggest inspiration in the automotive industry?
I'd say back in the day it would definitely be Boyd Coddington. I followed all of their stuff forever. I watched all their shows and just the high rods that they would build. But there's a couple of them back in the day, which I imagine that they're still out there. I just don't hear about them as much anymore. Rad Rides by Troy, if you've ever seen any of the stuff that guy built. Troy Trapani, I believe was his name. And all the Foose stuff is unreal, really cool.
Yeah.
But then you got these new guys that are coming out, the Speed is the New Black kind of guys, the Classic Car Studio. Unbelievable trucks that they're doing out there. And you remember Master Image Customs from back in the day? They did some really cool stuff. The Reds guys from down south would build some super unique stuff. And yeah, some of those guys I'd say. But when I was super younger and the 88 to 98 trucks were the most popular, you'd see like California Customs or all those different companies that were making the sport trucks, and those were really cool too. So I'd say probably those for sure.
Yeah, I think I think the general kind of craftsmanship I think is underappreciated today of some of those old school builders and a lot of people, because things have become so easy on vehicles in terms of bolt-on parts and in terms of buying things and doing it yourself, which is great for the people at home. But I feel like you you're kind of diluting the amount of effort that some of these like the trucks you feature. That's not somebody just going to, Amazon and buying a bunch of bolt-on stuff and doing
Mhm.
that. I mean, that's great. It's great that people can do that, but I think people are also losing the appreciation for the craftsmanship and the time and the effort that goes into some of these crazy
Yeah.
builds that people do.
Not only that, but the time and effort, but the how do you want to say it? Coming up, problem solving. So a lot of these guys down in South Florida, we had a bunch of truck shops doing super custom stuff. Uh, Mad Mods, Wicked Customs, Raw. There was all these different shops that were building all cool custom stuff, but they had to figure it out as they go, from flipping ball joints to using different spindles to front end swaps from Toyotas or whatever into Rangers and all these different things. But now, kind of all that's been laid out for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough because you have to figure out how to do it, but the information's sort of there because these old school guys went out to junkyards, started taking stuff apart, welding front clips onto different vehicles that have IFS front ends or whatever, different things. And it's kind of cool to see those, especially with like the mini truck guys, because the mini truck scene is still it doesn't get as much attention as it really deserves because it's still huge. The trucks are cheap and all that kind of stuff. The problem with the mini truck scene is the aftermarket doesn't support it as much as it does with full size, modern, and classic. You know,
Yeah.
you can't really go out and buy a ton of stuff for Isuzu pups or Mazda B22s or things like that. Um, but the platform or whatever you want to call it has already been kind of laid out for the mini truck guys. So if you want to build one, you can go online, figure out exactly what steps you need to do, and then go forward and do it. And that's thanks, like you were saying, to all those guys that are out there. But I mean, it's the same thing as the muscle car guys. The new generation muscle car guys are leaning on these old school guys that have more knowledge in their head than you can even find on the
Yeah.
Yeah.
internet from all these Dodges and Hemis and all these weird, really weird, rare things. This part fits that, or that part fits this, and those guys have put so much time and effort in, and it's just sitting in their head. You almost wish you could download some of that stuff, man. I met so many guys that you'll net when they move on or pass on, there's going to be so much historical information lost that you'll never get back, but it'll be moved on. It'll be moved forward.
Yeah, like you said with the mini truck, I have a friend, Joe, Caleb he did a B 2200 with a 1UZ swap and did a
Yeah.
bunch of custom coilovers, custom suspension in the back because that's, you know, he built it for drifting. So you
Yeah.
can't, you can't really, it's not really easy to drift on a leaf spring, so then you got to do custom
Yeah.
four link in the back and all this crazy stuff, and it's like no one's done that. There's no like, you can't
Yeah.
look up a guide for how to 1UZ swap a B 2200. Like you got to
Yeah. Yeah.
figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah, not only that, but you just can't find the OEM even support for
Yeah.
any of these mini truck engines or suspensions or whatever. So now that LS swaps are so much more powerful, I think you're going to see a lot more unique stuff for the mini truck. I bet you'll see a ton of S10s with LS swaps in it. I bet you'll see maybe even Mazdas and Isuzus. I have a feeling like it may be, you guys probably know better, but I bet that there's probably a huge market for Jeeps, right? LS swaps and Jeeps. I
Yeah.
don't know, but I would think
LS
so.
swaps and more and more, I think Hemis are a little more popular just to stay true to
Yeah,
the Mopar of it. But I mean, there's people who do LS swaps and there's kits and stuff to do it.
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, true. But we'll see about that. I think the mini truck market's gonna have a bit of a comeback. The problem with that I see in a sense is the fact that the full size trucks from the same sort of years are still sort of available in the aftermarket, or I mean in the used inventory, especially with no motors. So you could buy, let's just use the 88 to 98 trucks. You could buy one of those with a blown motor and ripped up interior for $500 all day long, and everything's available for it bolt on. You could get the suspension, the interior, engines, everything you need, aftermarket OEM stuff. But then when you look at the same year for like a mini truck or whatever, the truck itself is the same price, but there's just not that support in the aftermarket.
Well, I
So
wonder if
that's
that's just because less of those were made originally.
definitely,
So there's less out there, and I feel like these OEMs have to cut somewhere
yeah,
in terms of making parts and supporting things. So I feel like maybe they just figured it's too much of a niche. Like there's not enough
yeah.
still alive out there to justify putting money into it. I don't know.
It's just a lot more
Yeah, I figured
custom,
it.
probably too, right? Like the guys with these kind of vehicles, it's a lot more custom. I mean, they know what they want and what they're working towards, and
Yeah.
build really nice stuff.
Yeah, I mean they released 860,000 Chevy C 1500 trucks in 1989, the very first year, over 800,000 of them, and they had those going for 10 years. So just and everybody had them. The utility companies had them, school districts had them. So it's gonna be hard for the mini truck guys to compete with that, but there's still a love there.
Come back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's them for sure.
I like they can fit wide tires, man. So I'm a big fan of them. Fit wide tires.
Anything that can fit a nice fat tire, Joe.
Wide
Like
tire dudes, do it.
Yeah.
Anywhere
That, what's that?
anywhere we can in advertising or anything, Joe's like, can we fit
Wire
that
tire.
335 on there? Because I want to see that 335, 35, 22. I'm like, Joe, that thing, like you have that at shows, and like people will come up and they'll just stare at it.
What's that?
Really?
They're just like, man, that's a big tire. I'm like, yeah. They're like, what do you even put that on? I'm like, whatever you want to put it on. Like, I don't know. Like, they just come up and they're
It's a
just
truck with a 2-inch rear axle.
yeah, they're just dumbfounded by like how beefy that thing is. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah.
you put that on wherever you want, dude. I don't know.
That's awesome. Yeah, and also I think that I think the mini trucks had weird bolt patterns too. Some of them even had like almost a Honda bolt pattern, so to be able to fucking
snap.
ride offset truck
The
wheel.
wheels. That's ooh,
Well, some of
man.
those mini trucks had pretty small. Didn't some of them have like 13-inch wheels and 14-inch wheels and stuff like that? So it's like really hard to
Yeah.
find tires and stuff then too, unless you're going up to a bigger size.
And then if you go to a bigger size, you got to upgrade the brakes, and there's not really the support with upgrading brakes on those things. So,
Oh, it's not like that.
It's like that little truck George has, Joe.
Yeah,
What is that thing?
I can't want to say a Datsun, but it's not a Datsun, man. I always call it that.
Is it like is it like
the right hand drive, but I
is
forget.
it like an
exactly.
Isuzu or something?
probably a Love. I bet it's a Love.
Forget exactly what it is. It's a little truck. It's kind of like an old.
Do you have a
Datsun,
picture of it, Joe?
right hand drive. Ooh, possibly somewhere.
I'm sure somebody can identify it based off picture, but yeah, it's like this.
Yeah.
I think he's got like it's like 13 or 14-inch wheels on it, like something really small. And I'm like, where do you even find who even makes tires for that? Like we make some obscure sizes, but I'm like a 13-inch wheel. That's like bike tires. That's like little like wheelbarrow tires.
I remember it, man. The pots and pans. Those were pretty cool back in the day.
But
Yeah.
it did well at shows though, man. It did like on YouTube and stuff. It did pretty well, dude.
Well, I think stuff like that does well on social just because it's so obscure. It's just so different that people watch it purely of the novelty of it being like something else they haven't seen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's
and they get just like lifted stuff everywhere. So seeing some nice lowered stuff is probably pretty sweet.
So Chris, what would you say is your dream car or vehicle?
Well,
Unlimited budget. Just like we're balling out.
Balling out? I don't know. It kind of put me on the spot there. So if it'd be something manufacturer based, it would probably be I want a Tesla Cybertruck, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Nice.
But we'll see what happens with that.
Do you think Elon Musk is actually going to make the Cybertruck
he's already talked about
as we've seen it?
Yeah, I don't know about that, but they just announced that they stopped, or I don't know if they completely stopped it or if they paused or brought it down to limited production of their Roadster so they can ramp up production in the same facility for the Cybertruck. So nice. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't even know what kind of suspension. I don't know anything about that thing.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah.
It has
much weight.
It has some sort of wild, like it was either wasn't it like air suspension on it, Joe? I don't know, is it air suspension or Magna Ride? It had some sort. It has adjustable heights, I think.
Hmm. But as far as like actual car that's in production, 100% I'm a Porsche guy. I've never owned a Porsche, but the GT3 RS for sure would be my go-to supercar to buy. I think, or I know. Um, as far as classic one, it would have to be the old Porsche from Californication. If you watch that show, that's
Yeah.
like my favorite old school Porsche. I forget exactly which one it is, but definitely as far as OEM manufactured stuff, it'd be Porsche for sure. Yeah.
What like in terms of like something you would build, like a build you would do, like where it wasn't like new.
Yeah. Probably something a lot in the realm of the crew cut truck, the 4-door dually convertible, been tubbed out in the back, or sort of opened up in the back. It's actually owned by a guy down here by me now, which is really cool. Something super unique like that. I don't know exactly which direction, but probably something sort of in that realm. Maybe even like a brand new dually turned into a crew cut would
That'd be
be
cool.
sick.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had somebody ask us for a lower dually today. Submit a sponsorship application on the website, and
Oh yeah.
I was like, sorry. He's asking for AZ800s on a dually. I'm like, yeah, I can't help you there.
It's got to be
That
dually rated.
that's
That's all.
definitely
Yeah.
not a proper application.
Yep.
But like, you go to
Yeah,
scrape.
I explained that to somebody before. I'm like, yeah, you could bolt it on there, but it's not
Yeah.
support. And they can't show that you put that on there
Yeah,
because they can't support that.
You can't market this.
which is like, I mean, it's like fine and dandy. Like, I mean, we physically can't stop people. Like, I'm not gonna come yank your
Yeah,
tires
right,
off because
exactly.
you did like that's your right to do it how you want. But you got to know that's not proper, and especially in
Yeah,
terms of um miss it, like in terms of what we can get for marketing value out of that. It's literally zero. We can't. We
yeah,
get nothing out of that.
yeah. I
But
agree.
it looks good. I mean,
That's like scraping the coast. You see all those. A lot of guys like, and you'll tell them. You'll go up and be like, "Yeah, you know, like you should be doing." Like, "Yeah, but it works. It's fine. It works." I'm
I
like,
had it
Yeah, but it works.
yeah, well, yeah, it works for now, but like,
Yeah,
it works until it doesn't.
yeah.
It works
Until
really.
you got the guy that's got a daily driven dually and he's towing some massive
yeah.
weight behind it, and you're like, oh, the lowrider kid said I can do it.
No. No.
Yeah, and then there's just like stretched too.
Yeah,
It's like a 265 on like a 12 wide or something.
yeah. And he tell or Abe, the one that's listening, um, oh, so he says the
The
Cybertruck's
six
going to be
door dually.
5% smaller. 6-door dualies, there's quite a few of them out there actually.
Diesel
There's a
Brothers are
Yeah.
the big the six door
yeah,
kings.
there's a big where there's a lifted off-road truck builder up here. Goes by Dirty Dave, and he built a 6-door dually as unreal truck. And I actually took the back section of it was a 4-door dually, and they basically sliced the back of the cab off and put a second cab to the back of it.
Oh
And I
wow.
took that slice off, and we had an excursion, and we wanted to create a Bronco out of it,
Yeah.
Oh
so a
yeah.
4-door. And so we cut down and across and then slid in his section. We had the first ever Broncos excursion style thing. I'll show you a photo there real quick. Um, it was something pretty unique, I got to admit.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what do you think of the leaks of the new Bronco?
I don't know. Same thing as I think of the leaks of the what was the other one was recently leaked? The Blazer was let go. The Bronco, and then I don't know. There was another leak.
Dodge did one. Whatever
Yeah.
a Ram Charger. I was that a leak? I thought it was just a rendering.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I did see a lot of the leaks for the Broncos, and
Yeah, I've
I
seen
don't know,
physical
man.
pictures of the Bronco.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not 100%. Where? How do you get to your own pictures? Oh, photos. Uh, so
What I think is interesting with the Bronco is it has leaked out that supposedly it's going to have a 7-speed manual with a true low range crawler gear. So a
Yeah.
6-speed and a crawler gear, which would be pretty insane in terms of a new like manual vehicle having that kind of true capability.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it's sort of, I don't know if anybody else has kind of thought the same thing. I think it sort of looks like the FJ a little bit,
Oh,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
maybe from the front end a little bit, but it's gonna be cool. I don't know. We'll see the specs of it. If it's true 4-wheel drive.
I just can't believe they
Does
think
it have a frame? I don't even know if it have a frame on it.
I think it's body on frame.
Yeah.
I think. But it's not it's independent front suspension, solid rear. They did not do a solid front axle on it, which I don't know for the off-roading guys if that's because their whole big thing is they're targeting directly the Jeep. They're going directly for the Jeep, and they said they're going to make more than $250,000 of these things a year, which is just an absolute insane number.
Huh.
So I don't know if they're going to
Is
be
it
able
straight
to.
axle? You said?
What?
You said it's a straight axle front end.
No, IFS suspension.
Oh, okay.
Which
Sure.
I don't know if they're actually. I think they've overhyped it. This thing has been. I've been hearing about Ford bringing back the Bronco now for almost 5 years.
Yeah, no.
So it's like when you've hyped something up for this long and talked about something for this long, I feel like you could deliver the best product in the world and people still aren't going to be 100% pleased with it.
No.
We'll find
Nope.
something.
And
Right?
it's pretty proof with, I mean, I don't want to bash on it or anything, but the new Blazer, there's just getting so much heat. It's ridiculous. Front wheel drive Blazer. And
Yeah.
I don't even think it's got a frame. I don't remember, but I think it's just a unibody truck. And I don't know. A lot of people were upset when they saw the Blazer and saw the specs on it.
Well, I think it seems, at least from the leaks, the Bronco is going to be a lot more true to the original Bronco, or at least in terms
Yeah.
of being an off-road vehicle. But I don't know, like you hype this much behind a vehicle, and then they
Yeah.
were supposed to announce it in March, and they pushed it back, and now it's supposed to be this summer. It's like you've really pumped this up, so you better deliver something pretty damn good.
Yeah, no doubt.
It'll
Wonder if
be.
it'll have a roll down back window.
I hope it does. I hope it has some cool. I mean, it looks like they're trying. Like at least the front
Yeah.
end looks very, very retro. It definitely harkens back to the Bronco. So I think they're gonna do the best they can with what they're given. But I just
Yeah.
don't see it being a serious Jeep competitor. I just don't think they're gonna be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, let's see. That name's got a huge reputation behind it, and I'd hate to see it get tarnished with some new age type thing. But I guess we'll see.
well, it's like the electric the Mach E Mustang.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen to the Bronco.
That's what I was gonna say. They're probably gonna start like electric.
Look what they did to the Impala. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, took a iconic classic car like the Impala and turned it into a family
Monster.
sedan.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm shocked that these OEM companies don't understand what people like about the brand names. Like they don't they think they can just slap Bronco, Mustang, Impala, whatever on a vehicle and people are going to buy that. Like do you really think the average consumer is that much of just like a shill?
Yeah. Right.
Or is it just an easy lazy marketing tactic?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. David did it with the Dodge Dart.
Yep. And that was a
yeah.
flop. That thing was a
Mhm.
massive flop. They don't even make those anymore.
It's good
Yeah.
marketing though.
I mean, they did have a
Yeah.
great marketing campaign for
marketing.
it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking forward to the Bronco. I'm looking forward to. I'd love to be
Yeah.
pleasantly or unpleasant, whatever, pleasantly surprised, proven wrong that comes out and does great. But I also think they're going to miss the mark on price, which seems to be like the the OEM just MO lately. Like we're going to hype up this vehicle and then we're just going to price it a nice 10 to 15,000 over what anybody wants to pay.
Yeah.
Select
Yeah, well,
few.
the May was the first month on recorded history that trucks for OEM trucks outsold cars. which is really interesting to see.
Well, who's selling
they're-
cars anymore though?
yeah, I know, right? They're so utilitarian now, though.
Yeah.
You can have your wife drive it. You can drive it. Go to the gas station or go tow the boat to the lake or whatever. They're so universal now.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
luxury sitting in them.
F-150 best-selling vehicle in America for how many years now?
Yeah, yeah,
So I think trucks are definitely like great for that, but I don't understand with when they went back to whatever it was a year ago when all they started talking about getting rid of cars and we're going to go trucks only. I still think that's kind of a
yeah. That
silly
was weird.
move.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like people are gonna need people still are gonna there's still gonna be a market for cars. I mean, I guess maybe not. I don't look at these numbers because I mean I'm not building trucks or cars, but
Yeah,
you would think there's still gonna be a market for
See,
smaller, cheaper vehicles.
a lot of that CUV stuff, man. That's where that starts probably coming into play, right?
Yeah,
A
I
lot
guess
of the
that's
yeah.
crossover stuff. Yeah.
Crossover for sure. But one thing that we've been seeing a big pickup in, which makes a lot of sense, is older guys buying newer trucks, four-wheel drive ones even, and lowering them like 2 or 3 inches just so they can get in and out of them.
Oh wow,
But they can have a new modern truck. These new trucks are so tall
yeah.
that the older generation can't even get into the things. So four-wheel drive lowering kits are actually
Well,
kind of popular.
a lot of the newer stuff is coming with the electronic side steps now factory, so they can come lower,
Yeah.
so people can actually get in. Um,
Yeah.
I guess we'll close out the show here. One of the last things I'll ask Chris is, what would be advice you'd give yourself in the early days of your career / what advice would you give to young people trying to get into the automotive industry?
Uh, so the advice I'd give to myself when I was younger would be to engage more when you have the opportunity. So if you go out to an event or if you're at a car club or whatever, and you kind of feel like you're an outsider and you kind of just hang around and kind of like listen to people or whatever, but you're not necessarily taking it all in or asking questions, that's where I would have changed, because now that I know how car guys are, they don't want to start conversations with outsiders, but they love it when outsiders start conversations with them.
Yeah,
Oh,
So
right on.
they love talking about what they've done or what they plan to do, and you can get a ton of knowledge out of that. And that's one thing I would have changed, was actually interacting and engaging when I had those opportunities at car shows, to go up to the guy with the coolest car in the club or at the event and just talk with him, BS with him. And you'd be surprised with how friendly 95, 99% of these guys are. And you learn so much from it. And the thing that I would tell up and coming guys, something that I actually am happy that I kind of just naturally picked up on, was everything you do, you don't have to make money doing. So
Oh.
learning or being involved or going to a shop and helping somebody work on their truck, or going to a shop and helping the shop owner work on customers' trucks, you're getting unbuyable knowledge, whatever the word is for there. You're getting knowledge and experience and stuff that you can't pay for. You'd have to pay to go to WildTech or these different types of things. And I learned most of my computer skills and graphics and design and all that by doing free stuff for people, just because I wanted to make a car show flyer or make a car club website or something like that. Same with photography. If you want to get in, there's okay. The automotive photography market might be a little flooded because the magazine side of it's kind of dropped down with a bunch of magazines closing. So there's a lot of automotive photographers out there. Everybody wants to get paid. But if you go to an event and you see 2 or 3 trucks, just tell the guy, man, I'm new into this. I want to learn how to do photography. I want to learn my things. After the show, can we pull your truck over to the side? Let me get a bunch of really cool photos of it. I'll send them to you. I'll do some editing. Do it all for free, man.
Yep.
And get involved. And don't expect to get paid for things right away. Don't expect to have to get something out of it. Give a little. And that's kind of how I was able to make a bunch of steps, is not only giving a little bit to the industry, jumping on opportunities, saying yes to opportunities, even if you don't think you're ready for them. And don't be, I know it's the super stereotypical thing to say, but don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
I've failed at so many different things and I've screwed up so many things. But if it's an industry you love, the saying is true. You have a job that you love, you don't work a day in your life. In my opinion, I wake up and I don't have a job. I get to do what I love to do every single day. And it's because I put forward the effort. I did a lot of stuff, way too much stuff for free. My parents and everybody used to tell me either you're not charging enough or you're spending too much time doing this or doing that or whatever. But now I'm to a point to where I'm getting paid to do what I absolutely love. And that's something I couldn't buy or get anywhere else other than just going out and doing it. That's the most important thing. Patience and consistency, taking opportunities, and don't try to get paid or get some kind of value out of doing things.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree in that. And then there's a lot more you can gain in doing things than just monetarily. The knowledge you can gain by doing things and getting experience in this industry or any industry that you're interested in is absolutely just invaluable. Like you're never gonna be able to get that through money or through anything like that. So Chris, where can people find you, find Street Trucks on social media? Why don't you take a moment to plug yourself?
Sure, thanks. Instagram at Street Trucks, Facebook at Street Trucks, the website streettrucksmag.com. They're on stands nationwide. This is the most recent issue. Badass Dodge doing a burnout on the cover.
Nice.
It's got a lot of modern trucks, brand new 2019 Silverado that Fat Fabs just did. C10 Builders Guide on stands nationwide. This is the truck that we drove across country last year to SEMA.
Nice.
Full feature in there, built by Stafford's Garage, super cool truck. F100, same thing, on stands nationwide, pretty much. Nice. Walmarts, supermarkets, any of those kind of things. And then next month we drop nationwide our brand new book, the OBS Builder's Guide, and we put a ton of time and effort into this. We got a lot, like we were talking about earlier, the stories. There's a lot of really, really cool stories in it. A lot of historical stuff in it. We do lifted stuff, lowered stuff in it. It's going to be something cool. So, and then also on YouTube, if you just search Street Trucks Magazine, we got a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to get that going as much as I can. Learning the YouTube, it's a social media platform, but it's a little bit different. I've started to realize that Instagram has their users, Facebook has their users, a lot of them cross over. YouTube has their own group of kind of users that cross over, but they have their own way of wanting to see things. So trying to figure out all these different things, but we're trying to be out there and be everywhere and on stands nationwide. Currently the only custom truck magazine on stands nationwide anymore. The last man standing. And we're killing it. So we're not going anywhere.
Awesome. Love to hear it. So guys, on that note, that has been episode 9. And again, a quick programming note, we will not be back next Thursday. We are kind of changing our schedule and our format. We will be going back to a more, or I guess not going back to, we never did this. We're changing up to a more monthly kind of special occasion show when we, find somebody who wants to come on and we'll sit down and chat with them, but we're not going to force it to try to make it happen every week as we start to jump hopefully back into the event season and start on some more projects and changing things up and changing things what we do. But on that note, that has been episode 9 of Tire Talk with Atturo Tires. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff at Atturo Tires. Visit Atturo.com and add your vehicle to the vehicle gallery, or visit AtturoGear.com and get all your Atturo swag and whatnot, because we definitely do have hats coming soon and some new shirts coming soon, and those are going to be really cool. So be sure to check that out. Visit the gear store and see all that. So we'll see you guys at some point, hopefully on the road, hopefully at an event. So everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.